Okay, everybody, in our first story, Adam Mosseri says Instagram is taking a break on their project, Instagram for Kids. So we talked about this on episode 1284 when we were talking about Wall Street Journal's Facebook files. That is the moniker given to a bunch of leaked internal research and presentations and all kinds of materials coming out of Facebook over the last couple of weeks. And we also talked about how the leaker is probably going to uncloak themselves. This is, I think, if you haven't seen the movie The Insider, Michael Mann with Russell Crowe, I think it's Russell Crowe's greatest performance after Gladiator, but it's probably tied in terms of, two different types of people, two different types of heroes. But really, absolutely go watch The Insider because it's about the whistleblower in the tobacco industry and how hard it is to be a whistleblower. This whistleblower, I think, is going to go down in history as one of the most important people of this era, potentially, because these studies are so damning. And I think it's going to result in Facebook people resigning and maybe lawsuits and any number of events that will be considered a turning point in our industry. The leaked studies included a 2019 slide from Facebook's internal research. They do internal research, they fund research, which claimed that Instagram makes, quote, body images worse for 1 in 3 teen girls, amongst other negative health impacts that we know about social media. And the leaker is, in all likelihood, from inside of the integrity department. Kid you not, Facebook has an integrity department. Fate loves irony. And the lead reporter from the Wall Street Journal on the Facebook file says that many employees in the integrity department have been very fed up because they've been proposing solutions and they feel like they're being ignored. Sound familiar? Go watch the movie The Insider. Same thing happened in big tobacco. And there was also a similar cover-up inside of cars with airbags and seatbelts. Yeah, Ralph Nader's book, Unsafe at Any Speed, where he talked about the automobile industry. I've never actually read the book, but that would be a good one to look at. So we have this long history of corporations maybe not doing what's in the best interest of the public because it would have such a bad impact on their growth and the personal wealth of individuals inside companies. So here is Adam Mosseri. I don't know when Adam joined Facebook and Instagram, but you can be certain that if he's running Instagram, he's making millions and millions of dollars a year. Maybe $10, $20 million at the end of the day with the value of all the stock options and what they'll eventually become worth. So he came on NBC's Today Show this morning, and he announced that Instagram would be putting Instagram for Kids project on hold. Really? Due to all this public outcry. 1 minute clip. I'll talk to you on the other side.
You guys have had this research. You've had this information for some time. Why not do some of this sooner?
So we've actually been working on a lot of this for years now. We do this research to shed light on problems. That's the whole point of the research, is why I'm actually proud that we do that kind of work. That work has inspired lots of interesting product changes. For instance, we announced a couple years ago we wanted to lead on the issue of online bullying. Yeah. And the research we did when we asked kids and teens why they didn't block people who were harassing them on Instagram was that they were worried about fear of retribution because they have to see these kids in school. And also they needed to track what was being said about them. So that inspired the restrict feature, which we launched a few years ago. So over the years, we're constantly doing this research, both internally and externally, and using it to inspire changes to the product.
Okay, so he said a whole bunch of nothing there. I mean, great. They studied bullying, but really didn't answer the question, did he? The question is really like, why is this taking so much time, and why would you ever even consider doing a kids app? So instead of doing Instagram for Kids, Mosseri says that they're going to focus on making more parental controls on Instagram's current app, which is what I said last week. No kid should be on there, and parents should have access to their kids' Instagrams in a, R-Pact, which is an app that some friends of mine had told me about, where you make an agreement with your kids. Hey, I'll let you use Instagram, but here are the rules. I need to see what you're doing there. When you post an image, I want to approve it first, or I want to be able to see your DMs. The idea that you would see DMs for an adult would be spying on each other. But with a kid, it's kind of training wheels, right? You don't let a bunch of kids go to the mall when they're 10 years old without supervision. I mean, my parents did, but it was a different era. You probably want to have some amount of supervision at a party where kids can interact on their own in the backyard or at a park, but you're kind of off to the side watching them. There's some agreement here that kids can make with their parents. And so I think that that's ultimately where this goes, is that kids who are just like when they drive a car, if you have GPS in your car or a speed limiter for a child who is now 16 or 17 years old and becoming a young adult and they want to drive the car, they're giving up their privacy of location. They're giving up the freedom to speed in exchange for getting the privilege of driving the car. Kind of there's an analogy here, I think, for social media as well. You want to use social media, there's going to have to be some guardrails. You only can drive during the day. You can't drive at night. You can't drive on the highway. You have to be within 30 miles of the house. You get the idea. So Masari gave an interesting answer here when asked about the leaked research. 75 seconds. I'll talk to you on the other side.
Let's talk about the kids for a second, because according to your own research, as I understand it, roughly a third of teenage girls who said when they felt bad about their bodies, Instagram made them feel worse. How do we fix that?
So I don't believe that's exactly what the research said, but I do want to be very clear that if anybody leaves using Instagram feeling worse about themselves, that's an important issue that we need to take seriously and that we need to figure out how to address. And so we have a number of ideas in the world of body image and negative social comparison. Last week, we announced that we were working on nudges, the idea that if you're going very deep in one topic, we might nudge you to try another topic. And another project that we call Take a Break. The idea being that you could put your Instagram on pause for a period of time if you're in a moment of vulnerability. Maybe you're going through a breakup or you just switched high schools.
So I know the details are being worked out, but this Take a Break idea, how will that work? When will we see that in our feeds?
So the way it would work is that your Instagram, your account, your profile, how you show up would essentially be on pause. So the specific details we're still working through, but the idea is that you wouldn't have to worry about people talking about you, addressing you, commenting on your content while you were on a break. You would basically be able to leave and then come back and pick up exactly where you left off.
This is exactly what I said last week, right? There should be timeouts on social media. You press a button and it says, I don't want anybody to view my profile. Essentially like your autoresponder on email tells people, hey, listen, I'm not here. Don't expect a response. Imagine you came to my social media profile. I did this over the summer. And I said, hey, I'm taking a Twitter break because I have to focus on the book. And last week I got sucked back in, but I'm going to take another break because I keep getting pulled back in. But the ability to press a button and say, I want to be on break for the next 30 days or indefinitely, then no comments come in, no likes come in, and maybe you can't see my photos. Maybe I'm ghosted. Basically, it says, hey, Jason will be back on this date. If you do that, what that would do is give people permission to not feel compelled to check it. That's a great idea. That's why I suggested it last week. And I think it's probably a fairly obvious one, right? I think probably all of us take social media breaks, but incorporating it into the product would be great. Listen, right now, LinkedIn is going to give you $100 credit towards your first ad campaign. I want you to go to linkedin.com/thisweekinstartups and get that hundy right now. Now, why would you use LinkedIn marketing? High quality leads. We all need leads. We're all running businesses here. My leads, startup founders. Your leads might be SaaS enterprise. It might be CFOs. It might be CMOs. It might be CTOs. Who knows? Everybody's got a different product, but everybody is on LinkedIn. We all know that because we all use LinkedIn every single day. So if you're planning to launch a new campaign, you know your audience, your team is excited, and everything is going according to plan. We've all been there, except you have that one thought in the back of your head. How can I be sure that my acquisition campaign will drive high impact leads for my sales team? Well, with LinkedIn ads, you don't need to guess, because when you advertise on LinkedIn, your message reaches people who are ready to engage you. LinkedIn equals business, business equals LinkedIn. You know this, it's very simple. So with 30 million companies engaging and over 71% of professionals using LinkedIn to inform their business decisions, LinkedIn can help bring your growth to the next level. Don't wait to start achieving your brand and lead gen goals. Get a $100 ad credit toward your first LinkedIn campaign at linkedin.com/thisweekinstartups. Once again, linkedin.com/thisweekinstartups for the hundy. No spaces, no dashes. And terms and conditions apply because they're giving you a hundy.